Good morning. You're watching Much Ado About Something today, and I'm Donna. Well, I'm here today, and I am working on wreaths. I thought I'd just bring you along and show you. I've got a couple of old wreaths here that I have used over the years, and I'm going to bring new life into these wreaths. I'm going to choose which one I'm going to use on my front door, but all of them need a little work. I've got a poinsettia wreath here. I've got one that's got sugared fruit on it, artificial sugared fruit, and I have one over here that looks like a musical wreath. And I'm not sure which one of these that I'm going to use, but I know that all of them need some work. This ribbon is tired on this one. The ribbon on this one is looking a little rough. And so I'm in here this morning just deciding which wreath I'm going to use. And I'm going to go ahead and work on this one first. Now these have been packed away and I don't have wreath boxes for them. I did see some wreath boxes at the thrift store, but I didn't pick them up because it just didn't dawn on me at the time that I needed a way to store these that didn't mash these up like they've been getting mashed up and messed up over the years. Now this one does not have a bow on it at all. I've got the glue gun heated up over here, and I've got some zip ties out of my husband's toolbox, and I am just going to work. Oh, Angelina's going to take a nap while we work on the wreaths this morning. Isn't that adorable? Well, I've got this wreath, and I just think it's so pretty. I think this is a beautiful wreath. Let me put you on the tripod here. I got you down here where I think that you can see what I'm doing. Now this wreath is mashed up a little bit. Some of the leaves and things on them are kind of crushed where it's been in the storage. And I'm just going to work on it for a few minutes and get it fluffed up. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. But I'm going to try to fluff it up a little bit so that it'll look fuller and it won't be all crushed up. Just going to work on it for a few minutes. Some of these little artificial tree limbs that were in the closet and being pressed against other things, they're kind of flattened out. Now I noticed when I was getting this out that I had the, it looks like maybe a garland. Somebody added this sugared fruit garland to just a plain wreath. It was like that when I bought it. That's its original design, but I noticed that it was quite heavy. See, this is really on one strand here of wire. You know, it's coated wire. And I love the way it looks. It looks like a vine. But I am going to take some of these ties that I've got right here. Some of these ties out of my husband's toolbox. And I'm going to go ahead and just run this through here. So that it's pretty, you know, it stables up this wreath a little bit. This right here seems like it was wanting to come off. It was kind of flopping in the, when I took it down. This is a good quality wreath. It's really way too good for me to throw away. So I'm not going to throw it away. I actually bought this wreath at a second-hand store. And it was probably, I want to say probably over $100 wreath when I bought this. And I probably got it for maybe $10 at the thrift store, which to me is an excellent buy. And I am just running this zip tie around this wreath, around that vine part of that decorative part, and I'm just zip tying it onto this wire frame. That will sturdy up all of that fruit, that heavy fruit decoration that's on this wreath. Me doing this will sturdy it up. It'll help that vine to hold on. I'll clip all of these little ends off when I'm finished doing that. So that's what I'm going to do all the way around this wreath so that this thing is sturdy. And so I don't have to worry about all this fruit coming off every time I get this wreath out. And so I'm just going to go around here and strengthen this wreath with these ties. Now that I have this wreath sturdied up like I think that it should be here, I've got all of these heavy fruits and stuff zip tied on here a little bit better. I'm going to just go around and continue to fluff and to press out these beautiful leaves that's on this wreath. Like, look at these. These are velvet. Aren't those pretty? Artificial leaves with velvet with this sugared fruit. I think that makes a beautiful wreath. And this wreath, you know, is a quality wreath. I encourage you, after January, February, and March, if you go to thrift stores or the Goodwill bins or anything like that, to look for your holiday decor then. Look for something that might be kind of mashed up but still good quality and that you can make over. Keep something out of the landfill, reduce waste, reuse something, and create a beautiful wreath for your home. I guarantee you nobody will look at your wreath when you get finished with it and say, oh, so you got that at a thrift store. Nobody can tell the difference. You can go pay a lot of money for a wreath, a lot of money for these decorations that you can find at the thrift store, or you can get them at the thrift store. Save things from the landfill. Save yourself some money. Use a budget-friendly tip and make something beautiful for your home. You can go right now into stores and find something a lot less substantial and a lot less pretty in the quality and pay a lot more for it right now at this time of the year. But just by a little forethought and a little planning for next year, you can have a beautiful, beautiful wreath that doesn't have more money than you can afford. It doesn't have an extremely large price tag to it. I told you about my daughter. She bought a beautiful wreath for her Thanksgiving door this year, for her fall and Thanksgiving door. And we were talking about it, and she was like, Mom, it was incredibly expensive. And then I told her, I said, that's why I reuse mine every year. And with just a little work and a little time fluffing and making new ribbon, you can have a beautiful wreath that's just looks like $1,000,000 for just time, energy, and a little effort. Think about what you would like to see in a wreath when you go into a store. Think about how you would love, what kind of wreath you'd love to have, what would match your decor, and what would fit right into your Christmas decorations. And then that's how you remake your wreath. You remake it to fit whatever decor you're using in your house. And that's how you get a wreath that you really like, no matter where it comes from, whether it comes from a thrift store or a high-dollar florist or craft or antique place, furniture shop, Christmas store, wherever you might get your wreath. You want to think about what you would buy, what appeals to you, what you think is beautiful, and then that's what you want to put on your wreath. You want to make it custom to you, what you like, and that's the great thing about doing this, is you can do that. You can fit it to what you like yourself. Now this one is looking really, really good. I'm fluffing it out right here. Some of these things that are flat, I'm just kind of separating them. Now, this is kind of a fancy wreath. When you have candied fruit, faux candied fruit like this, I think it's beautiful. It's kind of something that they did in the Victorian era to make sugared fruit to put on the tree, and it would catch the candle glow, and this sugar would reflect on a wreath or a tree, and it would be beautiful. And so that's one of the reasons they used the sugared fruit, was to catch the light and make it glisten and make it beautiful. And you can do that same thing in your home today. You can add candied fruit to a wreath. Of course, this one came with it. You know, bought it at a thrift store, could not resist it, thought it was beautiful. It's the kind of thing that I would have bought if I went to a, you know, a fancy decor store. It would be the kind of thing that I would have ordered. And when I'm doing a fancy Christmas, this is what I choose. I choose to use this beautiful candied wreath right here. Now I have candied ornaments, candied fruit ornaments. And when I do this fancy tree, this is what I put on the tree. And right here's the price. You can see the price on these sugared pears that I got to hang on the tree. And they were $1. Now, they were not originally $1. They were originally $4.99 many years ago at TJ Maxx. And so, these just being $1 that I picked up after Christmas, you know, sale at a thrift store. Still in the package, still beautiful, nothing wrong with them, probably not even been used. And I picked these up to go on my tree so that whenever I do this kind of a wreath, it matches my decor. That this wreath will match what I put on my tree. And of course this wreath goes on outside on the door, so it's not in here, but you could use it inside if you like using a wreath on your wall. I have limited wall space, so I don't usually put one inside. But this one would be beautiful enough to use inside if that's what you wanted to do. All right, now I've fluffed this up quite a bit. I've made sure that the fruit and ornamentation that's on this wreath is kind of secure. It's not falling off. And so now I'm going to work with ribbon. Now I have ribbon that I bought on an after clearance sale. This looks like it came from maybe Sam's Club. It's a Members Mark brand, and there's 50 yards on here. So that's a lot of ribbon. Now I'm not going to use red on this because it doesn't look like it's a traditional just red and white colored wreath. It's got the sugared fruit in kind of plum and gold, and then there's green leaves. And it's festive and it's beautiful, but it's not a traditional red and green Christmas colored wreath. So I'll be using this gold ribbon on here. And I'm just going to make some bows. I'm going to put together some bows and maybe wrap a little ribbon in here, and I'll bring you along with me. I do pick up ribbon here and there. I pick it up whenever I see it at the thrift store. I pick it up whenever it's on clearance. You know, after Christmas, there'll be some Christmas clearances, and the ribbon sometimes will be included. And that's where I pick up ribbon, and I put that in the Christmas decorations and keep it in the Christmas stash so that I have it when the time comes and I need to use it. Well, I think this gold ribbon will match this gold fruit. It'll match the era, and it'll be beautiful on this wreath. So I'm just going to work some of the, hey David. I'm going to work some of this ribbon around this wreath, and I am going to make a new bow. Now, Cookie has found the wreath that I got over here waiting to be remade in a different style, so we've got to move it so he won't mangle it. And they are enjoying their cat tree being moved over here where they can be included in the middle of everything. And David's going to help me a little bit, and we're just going to remake this wreath. We're going to take this ribbon. Now I have this that I pulled out of the Christmas stuff. I could take this little gold ribbon that's on here off of this and put it on this wreath, and that would be beautiful. That gold glitter would match the sugared fruit, and that would be beautiful on this wreath. But I'm not going to put it on this wreath right now. I'm going to go ahead and work with this ribbon.
Gosh, Cookie was attacking.
He's in a playful mood. Now I know that this would need some little pieces, so I'm just going to clip off, you know, about 1.5 feet of ribbon, and I'm just going to kind of work it in like this. I've got a glue gun over there, and I'm going to just maybe glue this ribbon lightly and just kind of work it in around this fruit. And I'm probably going to do that all the way around this wreath. Now David is helping me with the glue gun. He's going to mash the trigger, and I'm going to take this stick. Now instead of trying to put my fingers down here where this hot glue's at, I'm just going to use the end of this wooden spoon so that I don't glue my fingers. I already have one blister where I got caught with the glue gun, so we're going to be careful this time. Okay, David, can you put just a little bit right here? Can you reach it right down here? Just put a drop right here. Is that hard?
It's hard.
There you go. Oh yeah, it's coming out. And we're just going to continue to do this kind of around this wreath.
Grammy, did I do it right?
You did, and you did a good job. It looks great. It's looking nice. Do you want to do some more?
Yes.
Okay. Grammy needs some more right here. You want to squeeze a little bit right here. Right here on that green grass. Right down here. There you go. Well, it's not green grass, it's green tree, right? And we'll just take this and put it right down there. Now look at that. Isn't that looking pretty? Right here. Can you put a little bit right here?
I don't want to touch it because it's hot.
Here, right here, baby. It is hot on the end. That's right. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a lot. That's a good job. That's enough. Now I'm just holding it a minute here with this wooden spoon and let that glue dry just a little bit. David, you want to put a little right here? There you go. That's good. And me and David are just moving around this wreath and getting some of this pretty gold ribbon all the way around this wreath. And get out another piece and just keep doing this until I get around this wreath, and then we'll make our bow.
Okay.
Thank you, David, for helping me with that. I'm going to turn it around so you can get to it easy, okay? All right, now we left off right there. Let's put some, can you reach right here? Wait, I'll show you. I might have to do it around on this side, but I'll give it back to you and you can do it on the other side, okay? Now we're being very careful with this glue gun. This thing will burn you and it will hurt you, won't it, David?
Yes.
So we're making sure that we are not touching this thing or touching that wax or that tip. We're being very careful with this glue gun. And of course the cats are very curious because we're rattling this greenery and stuff. Let me make sure you can see. Right here, David, just put a little glue right there. Thank you. We're just gluing as we go, making little loops, making it pretty where we want to see what we think would look good in here. Now right here is a little grate it's kind of got a rough place. So David, let me see the glue gun because I'm just going to put a tiny tip. We're just going to take this and glue that down so that you won't even see that little missing spot. These are styrofoam covered in the wrapping that they got around it, and then they got the plastic sugared, looks like sugar on it. That's what that is. So when you store it, sometimes these styrofoam things right here can look a little bit rough, but that's okay. Now luckily this ribbon is both on either side, so I could come across like this and it wouldn't matter a bit.
And yet this looks like water.
Oh, it does.
The big parts.
Oh, you think it looks like water on the fruit?
Yeah.
Let's put a little right there. That's good, baby. It doesn't need a lot, okay? And we're just continuing to fluff as we go. And we're going to go all the way around this wreath and make this thing look new. I think so too. I used to wire all this ribbon in with wire. And of course takes a lot longer. And sometimes the weather would cause the wires to rust. Dave, can you put a little bit right here? Okay, thank you.
It's dripping.
Okay.
I actually like it.
So now I thought that I've used, hot glue, and it really is just more efficient as, it doesn't rust. And it's easy, when you've had the hot glue on here for a while, just to kind of peel it off whenever you change the wreath.
I'm normally with a hot spray gun.
All right, David, can you come over here and just put a little bit here? There you go. All right.
Wow.
So we've got a little bit of ribbon worked in around this beautiful wreath. And now I'm going to make a bow. And a bow is just really easy to make.
Yeah. Well, I already know. It goes to bunny ear to bunny ear.
That's right. How did you know that? All right. So I'm going to take this same ribbon that we've got. Now I'll just take this ribbon like this. I don't put too much thought into it. I just make some loops. And this ribbon, it doesn't matter which way you turn it. It's the same on each side. Now some ribbons you have to be really careful with because it has the pattern on just one side. But this one is the same on the front as it is the back. And so it's very easy to work with. And I'm just making a few loops here until I get the thickness of the bow that I would like to have. To make this bow bigger, I would just make bigger loops and put more ribbon on it. But I'm not going to go too extravagant on this wreath. I think it's just beautiful like it is, and it's not going to need too much of a bow. I've got this here, and I'm just going to clip it off. And then I'll clip the bottom off so that it's at an angle. And I'm going to use a zip tie just like I did with the rest of the
Oh my gosh.
rest of the wreath. It's okay. I'm just going to zip tie the middle of these loops where you would normally use a florist wire. I'm going to zip tie it so that it'll be more outdoor friendly. It'll... And then I've got it pretty snug, so I'm just going to take a minute and fluff out this bow that I just made. To kind of give it a fullness. And of course I'll take the scissors and just clip off this end that's sticking out. And there we have a pretty bow to put on this wreath. A fresh bow that's not crumpled up too bad. It's just, it'll add exactly what we need to this this wreath. Now, after a minute, I'm going to decide where this needs to be. I, for some reason, like the bow up at the top, but you could put the bow anywhere you wanted to put it on the wreath. You could put it to one side. You could put it down on the bottom. You could put it anywhere you wanted it to be. Let's put this down back. And I'm just going to run a zip tie along the back of that other zip tie. And I'll zip tie this this bow to this wreath. I have to flip it up a little bit to get to the two ends.
What a nice wreath.
Oh, thank you. Now there you go. There's the beautiful wreath. Now I'm going to turn around on the back and I'm going to clip off these little zip tie ends that are sticking out here. It'll take a minute to clean it up.
I was going to hot glue the gun bell on here.
And of course, when you get this wreath hung up wherever you're going to put it, we're going to need a few minutes to just fluff it out once we get it where we're going, and we're not going to be messing with it for much anymore, so that it'll look the way it needs to look. But I'm really happy with the way that it looks. I think it's beautiful. I'm going to put a zip tie back here in the back so that I'll have it to use as a hanger. And this is one of our wreaths. This is the sugared fruit wreath. And we're going to move on to the next wreath. You can see the sugared fruit wreath right here. You can see how pretty that looks. Simple makeover on this. Make this wreath look brand new. Now here is another wreath that I have. It's a poinsettia wreath, and I think it is beautiful. If you're decorating with poinsettias and you want to use this to match, or just decorating with traditional red and green, this is a beautiful little wreath to use. Now I'm going to take a minute and pick off the lint and stuff that's stuck to our poinsettia flowers and clean it up for just a minute. I'm going to fluff it out, and I'm going to take the scissors and go ahead and take this old bow off of here. This is the bow that came on here, and I think that I got this poinsettia wreath at Sam's one year, and I've used it for quite a while. And I probably gave about $24.99 for this wreath, and you can see the difference in the quality of the wreath. It's not near as big, it's not near as heavy, it's not near as ornate. The poinsettias on this wreath is very light, and I like the fact that it's flat so it fits behind my door. I still think this is a beautiful wreath. This is what's back here. It is not a wire ring like was on the other wreath. It's not a wire form. It's simply a little dried twig wreath back here. And I'm going to take off this ribbon. This ribbon is just tired, makes this wreath look worn. And we're going to refresh this wreath. Now this year I am using red and white. Red and white are the colors that I'm using in my decor scheme this year. So I'm going to use a red and white ribbon. Now I do have a Merry Christmas ribbon. I think that's beautiful. And I have what looks like candy cane ribbon. That also would be beautiful on this wreath. So I am weighing out what it is I would like to use on this wreath. Do I want to use the candy cane ribbon, which is a slightly more elevated look, or do I just want to use this gingham ribbon that I used on my Christmas tree this year? Here it is on the Christmas tree. Now, this wreath will not be used near this Christmas tree. it will be used outside on my door. It'll be used outside on the outside of my house. So I don't really have to matchy this wreath to my schematics, you know. But for me, because I'll be coming in and out of the door and, you know, I'll see it so much, I may want to do that just for the sheer fact that it would be interesting for me. And I do love the red and white gingham. I really, really do. So I can go either way. I can do the red and white gingham or the candy cane. That's my two choices for this tree. Well, I could even do the Merry Christmas. The Merry Christmas would look pretty on this wreath. So I've got a dilemma to choose which one I'm going to use on this wreath. And for some reason, Angelina loves this wreath. Look at her. She's just going to town on it. It just tickles her. She's like, this is my choice. I want this wreath. Now, this wreath is not the same on both sides. There is what looks like a flannel flocked side to this ribbon. And then when you pull it out, there's the gingham ribbon look that I like. So when I'm forming my bows and stuff, I just have to be aware that this ribbon is not the same on both sides. And then here, this ribbon is not the same on both sides. This ribbon you see is beautiful. And then on the back, you can see there's a reverse side to it that's faded and not the ultimate print on the ribbon. So whenever I use these two ribbons, I'm going to have to just be careful to make sure that I have the right side exposed. And the Merry Christmas ribbon, let's see what it's like. Well, you know, it's just one-sided also. Here it is, the Merry Christmas ribbon. It's got the little trucks. And there you go. Now on trends, you know, this little truck has been trendy for years now. It's even trendy this year. I saw some beautiful little trucks at Sam's, and they had them decorated in the back, and it was really cute. And I have some things with these trucks on them. But if you've been around my channel, you know I'm not high on trends. Now, I will use this ribbon no matter what, not because I'm using it for the trendy truck on it, but because I do like the truck, and it can be a classic ribbon. I don't go all out and collect all one thing. I don't collect all truck stuff, and I don't collect, you know, I try to have things that coordinate, and I try to pick as classic things as I possibly can because those are the things that you'll use year after year after year. I would use this ribbon, even though it's got these trucks, because I like them. And I think it being on the back of that truck, this Christmas tree on the back of that truck, will always be classic and it will always be Christmas. But I would never just buy something because it says, whoa, that's the, you know, that's the thing of the year. That's not usually how I choose. Now these ribbons do coordinate. I can use this candy cane ribbon worked in around this, and then I can use this Merry Christmas to make a bow. Or I can do this wholly with the gingham red and white check. I've got a decision to make here. Now this is the ribbon that was previously on this wreath. It was just a kind of a sparkly solid red ribbon with a sheen to it. But this year I think I'm just going to go ahead and use the candy cane ribbon. I'm going to tuck it into places on this wreath and hot glue it on here, and then I'm going to use the Merry Christmas ribbon as the big bow on it. Now this ribbon is wider than what I used before, and it's just printed on the one side. So I have to remember that while I'm working with this ribbon. So I'm just going to go ahead and tuck it in places. My little glue gun helper, he has moved on. And instead of trying to press this down with my finger and burn my fingers, I'm going to go ahead and press it down with this wooden spoon. Continue to do that. And I'm just going to work it around wherever I think this wreath would need a little bit of ribbon. It's not quite as fancy a ribbon. It's not quite as decorative of a as a ribbon as the gold one was here on this Victorian-like sugared fruit wreath. This one's a simpler ribbon. It's a simpler style of wreath, and so we're just going to work in the candy cane ribbon where we feel like it would add a little oomph to the wreath. You can go under greenery, you can go around, wherever you think it would look the best, and it would enhance this wreath. That's what we want to do. And of course, after we get this ribbon down, we'll do a little fluffing up. We'll fluff up our wreath. Just work it in. And we'll put the flowers back and bend them their own wires so we can get them, you know, where they need to be to make this wreath beautiful. And we're just going to keep doing this all the way around the wreath. All right, now we're going to take this Merry Christmas ribbon and we're going to make a bow out of it, and we're going to be conscious that this ribbon is only on one side. So when I put these together to make this bow, I'm going to be just thoughtful in making sure that I'm not using the back, but making sure that I flip this ribbon around and I'm keeping that front part of the ribbon flipped around so that that's what's showing. That we don't have the back side showing, because it's not double-sided ribbon, and that back side is not, it's not pretty. It's not what you want showing. Now I've got a few things going on, and I've got the Merry Christmas, so the truck is showing a lot. So I want to be careful and make sure I get the Merry Christmas showing. Might take a little bit of work to get that done. This ribbon is a little bit bigger. The ribbon itself is a little bit wider, so it's a little bit more work. I'm just going to cut it at an angle here, and I'm going to get a zip tie and zip tie this bow here in the middle. You can glue it when it comes time to glue it on, okay? I'm just going to make sure we get this thing zip tied tightly here in the middle to hold this bow together. And then when we get it together, I'm going to clip off this long stem, and I'm going to fluff up this ribbon. Now you can make it thicker. You can put more ribbon on it if you want to and have a really thick bow, or you can use less ribbon and it be not as thick. You can just customize it to how you want to see it be. And just fluff out your loops to your bow a little bit, and then we're going to decide where we're going to put it. Not yet, David. We don't know where we're going to put it. I'm going to look over this wreath a little bit here, and I think that I'm going to add maybe a tail of this ribbon to tie it in. I used the whole spool there. So I'm going to go right there and just use this ribbon, cut it at an angle. And I'll cut this one. This one's already been cut, but I'll cut it at an angle. And I'll just put these two up under this one to just kind of tie it in with the wreath that we've got here. I think this is the hole where the top of the ribbon, I think this is where this goes, right here where this hole is. So we're going to zip tie it on here. I just go right up under the first zip tie that I put to hold the bow together. I just slip it right in behind there. In this case, I'm going to add these two pieces of ribbon back here, and I may even hot melt these together so that they hold together and don't just come flying off when I'm trying to get this on the wreath. Now I'm going to be conscious that I've got the right side of this ribbon showing on my bow, because you know there's a right side and a back side. And then I'm going to just put this on this wreath and zip tie it right on. And then zip tying it, you want to fluff it a little bit more so that it looks the way that you wanted it to look on your wreath. And then you want to take a minute to fluff up whatever you've got going on here. You want to make sure your flowers are fluffy, that they're not flat. And take a minute to turn your leaves around so that the right side is showing. Just makes your wreath look nicer. And there you go. That's a whole different style of wreath. This is a little more casual, but still really pretty and really festive. And then you've got your Merry Christmas poinsettia wreath. And I like this one. I think this may be my choice to use this year. Now we've got this pretty wreath, and it's already got a ribbon on it. But it kind of doesn't say Christmas to me. It's not the kind of ribbon that I would choose. And I can see that somebody in the past has already hot melted this ribbon, this wreath together. Let me make sure you can see what I'm doing here. I can see that they've already hot melted this ribbon together. I mean this wreath. And so I'm just going to work and pull off this ribbon off of this wreath. It's a combination of having been tied on and hot melted. So it's going to take me just a little bit to pull off this ribbon. Now this ribbon was really pretty. I liked it. It was really laid back. It was an unusual type of ribbon. You see you've got angels on here. It's an angelic ribbon. It's got angels that were playing musical instruments. And this is a musical instrument wreath. So that ribbon might be worth saving to use it for something else. You know, another project for another day. But it's not looking real Christmassy to me. Now, as I pull off this ribbon from this wreath, some of the stuff is coming off with it. So I can always hot melt that back on and continue just to take off this hot melted ribbon. Now, as I'm doing this, I see that this ribbon comes apart. Now, this wreath comes apart. Now, I'm not sure what this wreath is made out of. It is not made out of a grapevine wreath like the poinsettia one. It does not have a wire form like the sugared fruit wreath. This wreath appears to have been put together. Maybe it's recycled from an old Christmas tree. It looks like it's old Christmas tree limbs that somebody has put together and made a wreath from it. And that's perfectly okay. But what this means is there's an added step that I'm going to have to take some zip ties and just zip tie this wreath back together on this end so that it's not coming apart. So let me get some zip ties and we'll continue along those lines. Now, in getting this glued back together, you see the two pieces that are coming apart right here. Now we've got to put this back together, and it looks like it was made from an old Christmas tree. Maybe somebody recycled an old Christmas tree and made a wreath out of it, and I think that is a wonderful idea. I'm 100% for that. I think this came from a thrift store, and I think it costed $3. I was drawn to this because it had the musical instrument ornaments on it. And I love to incorporate music into the Christmas tree because we sing carols at Christmas time. And so I enjoy having music incorporated into my Christmas decor. Now I'm zipping these two ends together so that it's not going to come loose. It can withstand the pressure of being a wreath. I'll zip tie those two together, and we're moving on. Now I'm going to the front, and I'm going to have to fluff this thing up a little bit. When I took off the ribbon, some of the berries and things became loose. And of course there's enough berries on here that I can just take these little berries that look rough, I can just snip them off and not even have to worry about it. Don't even have to leave all of them on there. It'll never make a difference. And I'm just going to go ahead and put these back on. This one is kind of loose. I'm just going to go ahead and zip tie this on, because for me, that's the sturdiest way that I can get these berries back on, and I won't have to worry about them coming off again until I cut them off with the scissors if I want to change the wreath. All right, now I got that zip back on there. I'm just going to look at it and see what it needs to be done to this. I've got a few things I can hot melt back on there, and here is the reason I bought this wreath. I love the little stars that were all over it. You can see there's little stars just here and there all over this wreath. And I liked the fact that it had these musical instruments on this little wreath. It had like, a violin or maybe even a bass. Had a couple of those, and it had what maybe was a mandolin or maybe a banjo, either one. And they were on this wreath, and it made it look really musical. I'm just going to take a minute and just fluff around on this, kind of make sure that this is looking fresh and not flattened from storage. And I'm just going to go around and fluff up this wreath a little bit, all the way around the wreath. I want to take the glue gun and make sure that these are wired on. They had wire that was holding these little instruments on, and I'm going to take, I'll probably reuse the same wire and put them back on, and maybe even glue gun them to the rest of this wreath so that they're kind of prominent and they're showing. Get them wired on here and turn them the right way, that they're showing the right way. I noticed this little thing needed to be glued back on. That just takes a minute. Just fluff and make sure the little sharp stars are showing. And work on this to get it to look the way that I want it to look. Now, this wreath is kind of smaller. It's not near as thick width-wise all the way around as the other two wreaths, so I don't think I'm going to work any ribbon around into it. What I think I'm going to do with this particular wreath is I am going to just put one big ribbon on top. I've got this little ornament that I usually use on my tree when I make a musical tree, and I'm going ahead and add that because it looks like music. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and add that to the tree. And I can either wire that on or hot melt it, and I think I'll just hot melt it in this case. And it just adds to the musical effect of this wreath. It just makes it look like, you know, there's music going on, and I like that. I like to add that to the wreath. I'll continue fluffing a little bit. I think I'm going to find where I think the top is, and I think this would be the top. Up here would be the top, because it's like the emptiest area on the wreath. And I'm going to go ahead and just make a bow. I'm not even going to put the ribbon in here because it's such a small wreath. It's not as big. So I'm not going to even worry with that. And I'm going to make a bow to go just on the top part of this wreath and keep this wreath simple. And continue to fluff it out and make it not look flattened from where it came out of storage. Now this is the wreath, the ribbon that I'm choosing for this wreath, because this wreath is kind of simple, but yet you know, a little fancy with all the instruments and everything on it. I'm just going to go ahead and use this Merry Christmas ribbon here. I think that'll be beautiful to make that bow. So that's what I'm going to do. And this is a one-sided ribbon, so I've got to be careful to make sure that I have that on the right side. And I'll go ahead and get a zip tie and make that quicker. And we'll go ahead and get that ribbon tie, making the loops. Trying to keep the right side out so that that's what you see when you look at this wreath. I'm just going to crinkle that ribbon, make loops. And it's going to, you know, make a mess right here around the bottom where it's at. I'm going to just go ahead and keep doing that back and forth, making the needed loops to form this ribbon. I think I've got like 2 loops so far. Maybe I'll put 5 or 6 loops on each side, and that'll probably be full enough for me. Now it's going to twist up a little bit on you at the bottom down here as you're doing this, but you can straighten it out as you go along. Just back and forth, back and forth. Until you get it the thickness that you want it to look. Now, you know, once we get the zip tie on the middle, we get this ribbon tied up, it's going to look a little bit fuller. I'll try to end it right there at the Christmas. And I'm going to take a piece of this so that it'll hang down on the wreath to just add a little bit more oomph to this ribbon and to this wreath. Now that I've got it bunched up in my hands with the loops on each side, I'm going to go ahead and put the zip tie on here to hold it. Now normally I would use a wire, but I'm just using these zip ties because I like the ease of them, and I like the way they hold up when they're outside. They don't rust, they don't make it harder. And while I'm at this, I'm going to snip off this piece that I don't need of that zip tie, and I'm going to put one up underneath here so that I can zip tie it onto the wreath. And it leaves a good tight hold. Now when I zip tie this to the wreath, it gives this bow a good hold on this wreath. I don't have to worry about it coming off in the wind. I don't have to worry about it. It's going to hold up. So I'm going to zip tie this bow to the top of this wreath where there's not much decoration. It's just as easy as that. Very, very simple. Got it back on the back of the wreath here. I'm zip tying this ribbon to this wreath. And there we go. I'm going to fluff out this ribbon a little bit. And here we go. Here is this wreath. And you can see the Merry Christmas on it. And it's subtle, and that's a beautiful wreath. I love it. A beautiful musical celebratory wreath that goes on this beautiful door or any area in your house. And you spruced it up and you reused something that would have otherwise ended up somewhere else in a landfill maybe. And it's beautiful. It's as beautiful as anything you could buy. A lovely, lovely wreath. Now I have something else to share with you today. This right here, this little decorative shutter that I bought. I'm not even sure where I bought it. I think it was Tractor Supply. And I used this 1 year and I put it in storage. And this is what happened to the little styrofoam balls on it. Somehow in storage, this is what came out. And I thought, well, those look really terrible, don't they? Those do not look great. That is not something I would want on my decor. It's where the little coating has come off of this. But I have a solution to that. It's under $2, and that's red nail polish. And what I'm going to do is paint each one of these little white areas with this nail polish so that you won't even notice it. Now I could go buy more greenery to go on here, but here it is at Christmas, and I never pay full price for any greenery. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take a minute and put this fingernail polish over these white areas because I don't want to pay full price. And now it's right here at peak Christmas season when I want to use this wreath. And I don't want to go buy anything now. I'll buy that after Christmas. But I'm just going to take this fingernail polish and I'm going to put it right over this area on this wreath. I'm just patiently going to paint over these little berries. I already had this fingernail polish on hand. You can certainly go to the $1.25 and up store if you want to buy some. You know, probably the cheapest way you'll be able to buy it. If you see red fingernail polish at a thrift store or a yard sale, or you know anybody that's just getting rid of it, go ahead and take it and use it on your crafts. This is a good thing to use for a chip if you have a red ceramic something and you need to patch up a chip. This is an excellent way to do that. Now here we go. We can get another year out of this wreath. I'm going to snip those two little pieces off. Now we've touched that up and we've got it covered up. I'm going to just put a fresh cut on this ribbon so that it just looks nicer. If you like that frayed look, then please go ahead, feel free to leave it, but I just wanted to spruce it up a little bit. And here we go. Now this, you could add more ribbon to it if you wanted to spruce it up. But we've got a little bit longer out of these berries, and this thing is ready to use. Well, there's our wreaths. That's the tree I've got to work on next. And here are the different wreaths. I'm pleased at how they turned out. I think I am going to use this one this year. I'm going to put it on my door. And here it is hanging on the front door. I like the way that it looks. I like the ribbon on it, and I think it looks great. Thank you for joining me today and let me share with you how to refresh an old wreath or an old Christmas decoration so that you can reuse it again this season. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was something in it that you can use for yourself. I thank you for just being here and giving me the time. And like always, until next time.